Greetings, everyone. My name is Rikita Madana, and I am a data science and business analytics graduate student and the student volunteer for today's session. I would like to welcome you all to the 6th annual Charlotte Women in Data Science virtual conference hosted and sponsored by UNC Charlotte School of Data Science and Lowe's Inc. The WDI Charlotte Conference initiative aims to inspire and educate data scientists across the region, regardless of gender, and to support women in the field. With the current state of the world mainly interacting online, we're grateful for your decision to attend our 2-day virtual event and show your support for our various speakers. I would like to extend a special thanks to all our attendees for showing and your support. I'm happy to introduce you to the speaker of the hour, Shanna Reynolds. Shanna Reynolds is a highly versatile self-starter and motivator who believes in the beauty of teamwork and collaboration. As a busy mother of 2 daughters, she prides herself in bringing passion, creativity, and critical thinking to the workplace. Shanna serves as a program lead and data concierge at a leading global professional services firm. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rikita. And welcome, everyone. I am just moving here to share my screen. Give me just one moment. All right. So as you mentioned, hi, everyone. I'm Shanna Reynolds. I am a manager at KPMG, where I work for Advisory's Chief Data Officer and work as the data program lead and data concierge. As a woman in data, I was super excited to have this opportunity to speak with you here at the conference. And, truly wanted to use this platform to share my experiences navigating the world of data, to really support you in your journey and provide insights and resources that I've learned along the way. So let's get started. Prior to the session, I asked you guys a question. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? All right, so here are the results. I see we had an aspiring scientist, a writer, an astronaut, a football player, a doctor, an opera singer, and someone undecided. I thought this was funny. And so I was going to say, I can't believe no one chose tax accountant or management consultant. But I didn't want to be those either. But I too wanted to be a doctor at some point in my life. And this question for me was a bit tough because I also remember wanting to be many different things as a child, as many of you probably did too. And not only did I want to be a doctor at some point, but I also wanted to be a teacher, piano player, and I'm sure at one point I wanted to be Spider-Man, which is what I'd argue my kids want to be right now. So I never did really dream I'd be working in the world of data. And for many, if not all of us here on the call today, the simple possibility of having a career in data was likely not even on our radar growing up. And so, what's also interesting to note here is that over the years, data is and will continue to be the connected tissue through many of the careers that were front and center of our childhood. And so with that, data really is universal and it's in all industries. So when looking at this list, just to pick a few, if you think of doctors utilize healthcare data, both from a research and pharmaceutical perspective. And, probably the most important would be patient records. All of this data is used to drive medical decisions. An example of healthcare data would be fields such as number of patients, all the way to the count of hospital beds per hospitals. And all of those are important to doctors and those in the healthcare field when making decisions. Data being the connected tissue to drive meaningful decisions. So my mom is a nurse, and as a case manager at our local hospital, she teams closely with doctors throughout the life cycle of a patient's hospital stay. And the very foundation of what she does for work and how she helps her patients is from data collected from research paired with her patient's records. And so if you take a simple example, blood thinners. If a patient is on blood thinners but needs surgery for, let's say, a hip replacement, prior to releasing the patient for surgery, she would know right away that the patient isn't yet a candidate for surgery by reviewing the patient's data and could ensure that the patient has cleared their system of blood thinners prior to surgery, which will prevent excessive bleeding and allow for better healing afterwards. And so, as you see with a simple example, nurses and doctors use data obtained in healthcare research as well as data collected from their patients as the very foundation of evidence based practice. And I see here we also have an astronaut. The role of data and technology in space is so important. There's telescopes and satellites that allow us to see and explore stars from right here on Earth. But when you think about data being universal, quite literally, it is. Data is used in the sky. Space technologies are data dependent. Actually, one of our data scientists at KPMG, who's a leader in our machine learning and artificial intelligence group, actually worked on conversational AI that has been used on the International Space Stations. And so her work in data science provides astronaut assistance for procedural tasks. And while she's not an astronaut, but rather, potentially the astronaut of data scientists, we're really lucky to have her working in the field of data and at KPMG. And again, this is another really good example of data being a connected tissue. And lastly, someone wanted to be a football player. So when I think of football player, I think of the NFL. And the NFL heavily uses data, as do many other sports. But with NFL in particular, if you think about, the sideline of the future campaign, several of NFL teams use Microsoft sideline viewing system on the Microsoft Surface tablet to understand exactly what is going on during games to get real-time insights right there on the sidelines or in the locker rooms at halftime. And so they can identify things that they need to change or take advantage of throughout the game. So as you see, data really is universal and is found in all industries. So wherever you are in your current career journey, whether you are looking for your first career or perhaps in your career now, and aren't sure, what your next move will be, navigating through your career will definitely be challenging, but most importantly, it'll be rewarding along the way. And truth be told, exactly 10 years ago, I was in many of your shoes. I was wrapping up my very last course in college, where many of you are likely graduating with data science or analytics. I was graduating with a mathematics degree, but I had no idea what I was going to do with my math degree. And so, right out of college, I thought about being a teacher or a professor, and ultimately decided to continue my education with a master's in actuarial science. But then I quickly realized that being an actuary wasn't for me personally. So, the only known part of my education was that, I wanted to study mathematics, and I really enjoyed it. So test after test, challenge after challenge, I was really learning and growing and multiplying those learnings along the way, but I didn't know it at the time. But solving problems, building on prior knowledge, applying creativity was how I started building my own personal resilience through the world of math. And even though, the professional world was very intimidating, but the work that I put in as a student really made me the data professional that I am today. So my studies in mathematics led me to a career in business, driving insights from data from a business perspective when serving clients, and which drove me to set a personal goal to obtain my certification in business analytics. And so along the way, I've come to realize that when you move and you build on new disciplines, you're really gaining valuable and transferable skills as a professional. And so as you see, the path to my career in data has been a true winding, nonlinear path, but it's definitely been satisfying. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I want to use this platform to share my experiences to encourage and support you in your journey and provide some of those insights and resources that I've learned along the way. And so we'll discuss what it means to embrace a nonlinear career, three key focus areas that I feel are important for setting yourself up for success, while navigating your career, including key competencies that I believe will be helpful to build on and will help you to feel, fully equipped to take charge of your career. Right. So while the journey to your career in data is sure to be satisfying, that doesn't mean it will be easy. I love this image here, right here on the left, what people think success looks like versus on the right, what it really looks like. It's wonky, it's uncertain, definitely more lateral than linear. You start, you work hard, you fail a lot, you get a lot of help, and life happens. I truly believe that this is the journey of many, if not all, who have found success in their endeavors. These lines represent successes, failures, ups and downs, setbacks, and advancements. And it's the same for your career in data, or your career in football, or your career as an astronaut, or as a doctor, and beyond. And so having a successful career is, knowing that all of this is part of the journey and really embracing the bad with the good, leading you to a more satisfactory career. And so, you learn from your setbacks and are proud of your advancements, which, in return gives you a lot of satisfaction. And speaking of satisfaction, as Madeline mentioned in the introduction, out of all of the jobs in America, data careers continue to top the charts on the satisfaction scale. Like she mentioned, Glassdoor's 50 best jobs in America identifies the data scientist as the number 2 best job for 2021. And if you look at the years back, 2020, it was number 3. 2019, it was number 1. And so, they base these on market demand and job satisfaction. And the latest score, was I think a 4.1 out of 5. And so these are amazing scores. And the annual statistics really show us that the market, that, a career in data really is satisfying. And I think that a career in data is satisfying for so many reasons. One of the reasons is because of, the opportunities to really navigate through various avenues of data, to continuously build and grow and apply your skills along the way. And so new roles are being created every day, roles that no one would have even known about before, and all of it's through continued innovation. A very simple but perfect example is the iPhone. I have an iPhone 10, but literally weeks after I got my iPhone, the iPhone 11 came out with bigger and better functionality. So there's always a next new thing, but it's built on that continuous knowledge and innovation from the past. And data is the same. So, it's ever changing, it's evolving. The roles in data will as well. And so you have to be evolving and willing to change as well. And there are many, powerful opportunities to be successful in your data-centered career. Like we mentioned earlier, data is at the heart of all industries. And so with endless opportunities, how do we really set ourselves up for success? I think success looks different for everyone, but there are some commonalities in the focus areas that I would like to share with you, that I feel are super important to be mindful of over your years in the world of data. All right. So in 2012, Harvard Business Review, the author DJ Patel states, think of big data as an epic wave, gathering now and starting to crest. If you want to catch it, you need people who can surf. And data scientists bring structure to data. They find compelling patterns in it, and then they advise on the implications for products, processes, and decisions. They find the story buried in the data, and then they communicate it. This last statement is so true. And it really brings light to the 3 key focus areas that that I feel are important to help you to be fully equipped and to provide value along your journey in your career and professional development. And so I want to spend a little bit of time focusing on and exploring 3 areas that I feel are important, which is building a great foundation to start. Every data career starts with a good foundation. So I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking through, important skills and competencies that I feel will really take you far. The second is identifying key experiences for growth. I think this is one of the most important as it relates to applying your skills and competencies and the ability to achieve your career goals. And lastly, aligning to supportive teams and work communities. There is so much value in finding a team and a community that supports and invests in its people and allows for mobility and opportunities for advancing your skills as well as active mentorships. Right. Okay, so let's say you're going on a long road trip. In order to navigate to your destination, you've got to do the preliminary maintenance. You've got to get your tires checked. You've got to get your oil changed, fill up your tank or charge your battery. Make sure you have car insurance. The list goes on. But also preparing for the journey means that you have to be flexible. Keep yourself educated on potential bad weather that you might encounter or, roadblocks. Or in my case, with my children, be flexible to stop every hour for a snack or a bathroom break. And the same concept applies to your career. Every career starts with a good foundation. You need to be mindful of not only the destination, but also the journey. And the vehicle to a good journey or good career is really your willingness to work hard and your attitude and your awareness. And thus, you should be aware, ensure that your competencies are up to par, align to your career aspirations and have constant maintenance along the journey. And so competencies are really the inherent qualities that an individual possesses and are characteristics that are sure to improve efficiency and performance throughout your career. Competencies are based on behavior, and your ability to align your skill sets to those behaviors will take you very far. And so I'd like you to visualize a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram shows the possible relationships between the two or more sets. And if you put professional and personal competencies on the left and the right side of a Venn diagram, you'll notice and you'll find that they're highly dependent on one another. And in most cases, they'll overlap. So from both a professional and a personal perspective, there are so many competencies to consider. But I've listed three key for both that I feel are really important when navigating your career. So for professional, the first would be good teamwork and collaboration. Teamwork and collaboration really equates to better work product and outcomes. When you bring different perspectives to the table, your productivity and efficiency will totally skyrocket. Working with others allows you to brainstorm, it allows you to have open communication, and also just be mutually responsible and accountable for a common goal or deliverable. And simply put, you're not in it alone. As a program lead and data concierge, my work culture is centered, completely around collaboration, and I certainly prefer it that way. From through a centralized hub, we make files and resources and conversation as available as possible to encourage teamwork and collaboration. And so, in fact, this very presentation is a perfect example of teamwork. As I was prepping, notified my colleagues, and many of them at KPMG raised their hand, to be a sounding board or to just listen, to prep and make sure that my presentation was at the best it could be. So they gave me honest feedback, which really I really appreciated. So the second would be exemplifying business understanding. When working on a problem, it's incredibly important to first understand the business need. What is the problem? What is the mission? What is the strategy at hand? And simply put, what are we trying to accomplish? Understanding the business problem really sets the stage for the work. And it's critically important to have the full context of the business need because the business need really drives the scope and ultimately the requirements and execution of the work as well. But even though understanding the business need for your particular effort is important, I'd also like to note that to me, it's equally as important to have proper understanding of other people's scope of work as well in order to really connect the dots. So therefore, the ability to exemplify business understanding ranges beyond your current deliverable or project and really allows you to see the various interdependencies across the business. So what do I mean by that? I think it's important for you to see the full picture. Your ability to connect the dots will really provide value for your organization. And so with that, it also moves us to thinking about, critical thinking and problem solving, really widening your scope and applying critical thinking, always wearing your problem solving hat. You'll be able to differentiate your work, such as better, data storytelling or bringing strategic recommendations to the table. And when you think about personal competencies, having clear and effective communication, but also being accountable and building relationships are critical. There is so much power and so many benefits of having good communication at work, whether it's being able to articulate, business understanding, or perhaps even resolve conflict. When objectives are clearly communicated, everyone is on the same page. So things are most likely to go smoothly. So being a clear communicator as a professional will certainly help contribute to the overall business objective. And so you may have heard a lot about data storytelling, which is incredibly important in your data career. And simply put, if you can't tell the story, it won't resonate with stakeholders because people really do relate to stories. So, practice building narratives around data and then which is supported by insights obtained from data and visualizations. And accountability and trustworthiness. Great teams really trust each other. And so I encourage you to hold yourself and your teams accountable for work deadlines and commitments, and in your attitude and willingness to team up and show up for your work. And if things go off track, which they definitely will at times, identify those key areas that perhaps took the effort off track and, ways to prioritize and address the gaps. On my team, being in the yellow or the red doesn't necessarily set off firing alarms, but rather, we team together to identify the reasons for the delay or the issue and how specifically we can get the work back on track. And then we execute. So really holding each other accountable for the work end to end. And building relationships. So LinkedIn actually released a global survey a few years ago stating that 80% of professionals consider networking important to their career success. But at the same time, data shows professionals that agree on the value of networking, but at the same time, they're, 1/3 of the respondents struggled with knowing what to say when, reconnecting. So maintaining relationships coupled with growing your people skills will truly benefit your career. And being positive and mindful of the connections you're making along the way will take you far as well, and serve you well. And perhaps even help with some of those potential struggles of, not knowing what to say when the time comes. And so who knows? I mean, even the people you meet today or tomorrow at this conference may be tied to you throughout your career. So it's valuable to work on building relationships and your people skills. Okay. So we talked a lot about competencies and how important they are, especially at the intersection between professional and personal competencies. And now I'd like to navigate to really how these competencies are applied to support your career growth. Every year, I build out my career goals that I need to execute in order to continue positive advancement in my career. Something I've been mindful of when creating this goal is goal list is the value that I'm bringing to my organization and the experiences that will enable my personal career growth to drive that value. And so it's through my experiences, whether they're positive or negative, that I've grown as a professional. And so I really feel that your key experiences will drive your growth in your career. And really the key word here is experience. If you, look at synonyms of experience, it's practice and understanding, involvement and training, and it really is just that ability to position yourself in those multi-channel opportunities. So, for example, seek out special assignments. Identify strategic assignments and special projects that will provide you with the key experiences to really stretch your skill set. And ask yourself or your supervisor, what are some of those next level opportunities that I can take on to build and stretch my skill set? And so it's through these stretches that you will build resilience in your career. Being open to a wide scope of opportunities will allow you, it might even allow you to pivot to something that might not have been an obvious fit from before, or right from the beginning. And so you may find successes in areas that you may have never even imagined. Last summer, I actually, KPMG hosted an internal data analytics hackathon. It was totally voluntary, and was an opportunity to really learn and grow in my career. So I signed up. I teamed up with one of my colleagues, and we used publicly available data from the healthcare industry, paired with US Google mobility data to really analyze and drive insights. We produce predictive analytics using new DNA tools. One was Alteryx, which is a drag and drop data prep tool, and second was Power BI, which we use for visualizations. My goal going into this hackathon was really to stretch my skill set, to learn a new tool, and to apply an end-to-end methodology. And it was a great experience for me, to really build my knowledge set of the tool. I personally saw a lot of value in participating in the hackathon, and actually later used the tool and the insights that I learned from the hackathon to produce work for my clients. And it was really fulfilling to apply those learnings from those key experiences. But, was it tough? Absolutely. Halfway through, I was thinking, why did I do this to myself? I had a few 4 a.m. mornings, and late nights to get the hackathon work completed before my children woke up, or, after they went to bed. And so it was really just a lot of extra responsibility outside of my normal day-to-day routine. But, despite the setbacks or errors that we experienced in our model, my teammate and I really pulled through and worked well together, and had a successful outcome. And most importantly, we maintain a positive attitude through it all. And so our reactions really make a difference. Um, the way that we react and manage situations are so important. And the same goes for your career and your ability to navigate both positive and negative experiences. And so, at the time, you may think that there's an issue, might have been a major setback, but in reality, it's really a learning experience for growth. And so, special assignments may, take you out of that normal day-to-day work, but it will allow you to stretch your skills and exemplify, quality of work. And quality of work can mean so many things. It can mean, you know, maintaining productivity, working on time management, and your ability to meet deadlines. And secondly, continue your education. So continued education comes in many different shapes and sizes. And even though, masters and MBAs are absolutely fantastic, there are other ways to broaden your insights as you navigate through your career. And what I mean by that is continuously make an effort to gain insights on topics that you're interested in, and that align to your career aspirations as well. So some examples would be, reading thought leadership articles, keeping up with latest research, taking free online classes, or listening to podcasts. LinkedIn actually has a really great avenue for reading articles released on special topics. For example, my coworker at KPMG, he's also a artificial intelligence and analytics professor, and an author. He launched the hashtag AI Fireside Chat series on LinkedIn, where he and other data scientists, release short papers and really micro learnings. And I really enjoy these. They talk about computer vision, graph analytics, conversational AI, and heavy, innovation topics, which are, like I said, micro learnings, topics I enjoy and topics I can jump in and learn about along the way. And there are also opportunities to attend lectures and careers like, conferences like the one we're at today, um, or serve on nonprofit boards. to gain leadership experience. You can also obtain certifications on topics that you feel passionate about. Certifications are a great way to continue your education. I actually obtained my certification in business analytics, which is something I had wanted to do for quite some time. It was about 8 weeks long and gave me an active and collaborative environment where I was addressing real business problems and using managerial judgment on a case based cohort style learning method. And so I really enjoyed those courses, which brought a huge challenge my way every week, for a few months, but it was extremely rewarding to set a target and really go after it with pride. And so, um, you may have noticed that almost every single example that I've highlighted has included two or more, people involved on that journey. For example, I just mentioned cohort style learning, which is essentially where throughout the certification course, we were required to collaboratively, respond to others' questions when perhaps they hit a roadblock or document and share various perspectives. This was a critical part of the certification, and it was actually required to pass the overall certification. So the simple yet powerful notion of helping others was critically important to the success of my learning experience and for others in that cohort. And so it's valuable, and in my opinion, an ongoing key experience to help others by bringing your own unique experience to the table and really allowing your thought process to shine throughout your deliverables and throughout your engagements. Which leads me to my last of the three focus areas, which is aligning to supportive teams and communities. When you join a team, whether it's a big team of 30 or a small team of 5, you will share a common goal, even though your day to day may look different. Just like the economy is changing daily, data is always changing and growing, and so are people and priorities. Um, I think that it's important to find a company that invests and supports in its people and allows for career mobility and provides active and supportive mentorship programs. People are motivated and positively transform through mentorship. I have multiple mentors, both formally and informally. One of my mentors has been actively helping guide me and been a sounding board for 7 years now, um, going on 8. And my mentors have really been, a lifeline at times when I simply couldn't articulate a vision that I was trying to articulate. And as a manager, I hope to always have aligned mentors to help me through my winding career journey. I also feel that you're never too high in your career for mentors. I'd argue that, executives in the C-suite all got to where they are through actively relying on their mentors. And while, I've got several mentors, I'm also a mentor myself, and actually find a lot of satisfaction in helping others. And so in summary, visions and teams, communities and partnerships really will take you far. And so for those students who will be interviewing in the near future, or in the next year or so, for example, through your interview process, I really encourage you to ask your potential employer, what are some of the continuous education and learning opportunities at your company? Or if you're currently working, you could, ask the same. Many companies have really robust programs that you're able to leverage to continue your education. They may have firm-wide subscriptions to third-party data vendors, or who provide resources for continuous learning about the market, allowing you the opportunity to stay up to date on your knowledge and your interests, such as Gartner or Forrester research, or even Wall Street Journal subscriptions. Another good example is webinars, ability to join and listen to experts across various industries on topics important to your field of work. That's something that at KPMG I've really enjoyed the learning and training opportunities, and I work with my performance management leader to customize my journey so I can dive into various levels of interest. I've also personally benefited from internal career mobility options that have given me opportunity to work outside of my typical day-to-day deliverables. And so let's say that you've been in your career for 4 years or less. or more, and find interest in a related topic, but you're not able to necessarily work on that topic and, find stretch assignments in that role. The ability to take a short or long-term rotation in an area of interest might just be the avenue for you. And companies benefit from giving their people opportunities to move left and right and not just up. And this could be beneficial to building and maintaining your skill set and your team's work as well. And so there is a special type of exciting energy and fulfillment obtained from, continuously adding to your toolbox of skills through career mobility options. Right? And so reflecting on my own journey, these three key areas have been a checklist of drivers which have helped shape my career thus far. Thus, I've worked hard and I'm still working hard to build my skill set and expand my scope of knowledge. I definitely feel blessed and thankful to have had good leaders through my nonlinear career. And, while your career may not be linear either, rest assured it will be rewarding and it will be one that you are not in alone. So in summary, and to recap the 3 points of encouragement, I'd like to leave you with today is, to continuously build on your foundation, your good foundation. Find those key experiences for growth as you navigate through your career and align yourself with supportive teams and communities. And like Sheila Jordan, Honeywell's chief digital technology officer mentioned earlier in the earlier panel, my hope really is moving forward, you're able to truly own your career and apply some of these career and professional development insights for your journey and careers in data to achieve your collective goals as well. So I just want to thank you. This wraps up my presentation. I really appreciate and I've enjoyed my time here with all of you, either leading up to the call through WOVA collaboration, as well as here on the, oops, sorry, as well as here on the call. And I have received a couple of questions ahead of today's session, which I will definitely address. And given our time is almost up, if possible, please drop your questions either directly in the Zoom chat, or you can even message me directly on the WOVA app as well. I will be consolidating materials and resources that I mentioned throughout the chat today. And I will also be happy to create a FAQ, which will help address questions and other career and professional development questions you may have. And you can also find me on LinkedIn and connect with me as there. All right, so with 2 minutes left, I will answer a couple of questions here. All right. What advice would you give third-year university students? I would say do at least one internship. Internships are really, they really give you an opportunity to apply your learnings and gain practical real life experience. But it also allows you to explore a certain career path. Many internships are paid. So if you're working while going to school, but you need to pivot for, a summer or paid internship, I absolutely recommend doing so. Internships allow you to work on real life problems, and then it also allows you to gain business context. So you will also benefit from, networking and just generally figuring out what you like and perhaps what you don't like as well. So my advice for third years would be to take an internship or two. All right. How do you know to pick the right mentor? So I think it's important to find a mentor who has similar values to yours, because the last thing you want to do is compromise your own personal values, because that could lead to, unhappiness. And certainly, I think my first recommendation would be to look at your values and ensure that your mentor or mentors, plural, that you've selected are aligned as well. Look within your existing networks. Um, there are, leaders who really communicate well and are willing to spend time with you. Ask that question. make sure that they're aligned and make sure that they're willing to guide you. I think we're right at time here, but I'll try to answer this one. What do you think is the biggest challenge faced by mothers in the workplace? I would say maintaining a work-life balance. It is so important to have time away and to disconnect from work and to reconnect and continue to reconnect with your family and your children. I have two daughters. They are 4 and 2, very young. It is and it has been challenging, just working while pregnant or taking maternity leave from work. And then, of course, going back to work and leaving them for periods of time, to manage my work commitments. It is hard, but I also believe that it's important for them to see me doing what I love in my career. And, I think that it will have a positive impact on their development as well. And so you just knowing, they can do whatever their little hearts desire. And so, my hope is to be a positive role model for them as it relates to the professional world. And I'll just leave you with this. My little one this morning told me, I told her, I said, give mommy a big hug. I've got a presentation today. And they got so excited. And then just after a couple of minutes, my oldest said, but where's my present? It was really sweet. So, continuously sharing with them what I'm doing and what I love. And yeah, so, you know, I really appreciate all of your time. I know we're right over. Like I said, please reach out to me with questions. I will be, sharing all of the material, resources, links, and an FAQ based on the questions. So back to you, Rikita.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. It was a really informative session. I really gained a lot of information from the session today. And yes, I would just like to remind everybody, as Shana just said, you can just type in your questions in the chat box or else have them, pulled up so that she can answer it via the WOVA. So that is it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.